The sky above Zamuna burned like fire. The proud kingdom that once sang with drums and laughter now echoed with screams. King Aiden lay slain on the palace floor, his golden crown soaked in blood. From the dark mountains rode Ragnar, the conqueror whose heart was colder than iron and whose magic turned men into monsters. But deep within the burning ruins, destiny was not dead. Elder Deimos and the brave woman Mara carried the infant prince Leo through the smoke, escaping into the night. Behind them, the palace crumbled as the roars of Ragnar's dark army shook the earth. Years passed. In the humble village of Dunba, the boy grew into a strong young man. He didn't know he was born to rule until fate came knocking. When Ragnar's cruel commander Brutus enslaved the villagers, Leo's courage awakened. With the help of Arya, the mysterious girl of light, and Elder Deimos, the old priest of the lion spirit god, Leo led a rebellion that shook the land. The final clash between Leo and Brutus lit the fields of Dunba with fire. In that battle, Leo fought like no ordinary man. His eyes glowed gold, and the spirit of the lion roared through his blood. When Brutus fell, the people cheered, "The Lion Prince has returned!" But far away, in a castle black as night, Ragnar rose from his throne. His fury burned hotter than any flame. He swore the boy would die, and the war for Zamuna would begin. The night was quiet, too quiet for a land ruled by fear. But far away from the peace of Dunba, a dark fortress rose above a valley of fire and bones. The fortress belonged to Ragnar, the Dark King of Zamuna. His throne hall was lit by torches that burned with blue flames. The air smelled of blood and smoke. A trembling servant ran into the hall and knelt. "My lord, I bring you news." Ragnar's red eyes turned toward him. "Speak." "The commander Brutus is dead, killed by a boy named Leo, the lost prince of Zamuna." For a moment, silence filled the hall. Then Ragnar stood, his armor creaking like thunder. "Leo," he growled, his voice echoing off the stone walls. "So the cub still lives." He struck his sword on the ground, and red fire shot up around him. "Bring me the golden mirror." Two servants carried a large mirror framed in gold, carved with the faces of demons. Ragnar waved his hand, and dark smoke swirled inside it. Slowly, an image appeared. The face of a pale man in a hooded robe, surrounded by symbols drawn in blood. It was Mulgar, the dark sorcerer. "My lord," Mulgar said, bowing, "what do you command?" "Your region has failed me, Mulgar. The boy Leo lives. He dares to challenge me. Send your wraiths, burn Dunba to the ground. Leave nothing alive." Mulgar smiled, cold and cruel. "As you wish, my king." He turned to his servants. "Bring the caskets." Heavy iron boxes were dragged into the room. Strange chants filled the air. Mulgar raised his hands, and lightning flashed from his fingers. The boxes burst open with a hiss of green smoke. From inside, undead warriors rose, tall, empty-eyed, covered in broken armor. Their bones cracked as they moved. Mulgar pointed toward the open gate. Ride and destroy the Lion Prince." The wraiths mounted their black horses. The ground trembled as they galloped out into the night. Malgar laughed, his voice echoing across the hills. "The light of Zamuna will fall." Are you enjoying the story so far? Support the creators by subscribing to our YouTube channel, African Folktales with Oni. You won't regret it. Thank you for your love and support. Now, let's dive back into the story. Meanwhile, in the peaceful village of Dunba, drums were beating and laughter filled the air. Leo and Arya stood beside Elder Deimos as the people danced around fires, celebrating their freedom. None of them knew that death itself was riding toward them under the moonlight. The night sky over Dunba glowed with 1,000 sparks. Flames from the great bonfire danced high, painting golden shadows across smiling faces. Drums rolled like thunder, and the people sang songs of freedom, songs they hadn't sung in years. Children ran around the fire, laughing and waving wooden sticks as if they were swords. Women clapped their hands and lifted their voices, calling Prince Leo the Lion returned. For the first time in a long while, Dunba felt alive again. But while everyone danced and laughed, Leo stood quietly at the edge of the crowd. The firelight flickered across his face, and his golden eyes looked distant. His heart was heavy, burdened by memories he could not forget. Arya noticed. She left the circle of dancers and walked over to him, her curly hair shining in the fire's glow. "You're supposed to be smiling, not frowning," she said softly. "The people are flee, Leo. You did that." Leo sighed. "I should be happy, Arya, but every time I close my eyes, I see my father, King Aidan, calling to me from the flames. I still hear his voice from the night the kingdom fell. It feels like he's waiting for me to finish what he started." Before Arya could reply, Elder Deimos appeared behind them, leaning on his carved staff. His wise eyes glimmered in the light. He placed a hand on Leo's shoulder and said, "Freedom for one village does not end a kingdom's sorrow. Many lands still cry under Ragnar's dark rule. The fall of Brutus will not be unanswered. Ragnar's wrath is coming." Arya nodded. "Then Leo must prepare, not only in body, but in spirit. The war ahead will not be of swords alone, Elder. It will be of souls." Elder Deimos looked into the flames, his face deep with thought. "You speak true, child. It is time for his deeper training, time to awaken the lion spirit that sleeps within him. But not tonight. Even a lion must rest after a long hunt." A soft wind drifted through the village, carrying sparks that danced like tiny stars. Arya smiled and nudged Leo playfully. "Enough frowning, Your Highness. Tonight we celebrate. Tomorrow training begins." Elder Deimos chuckled quietly and added a proverb. "Even a lion rests after a long hunt, for only then can he roar again." Arya laughed and suddenly grabbed Leo's hand. "Come on, dance with your people." "Arya," Leo began, but she pulled him anyway, straight into the circle of dancers. The drums quickened, and the villagers cheered as Leo joined the rhythm. His stiff movements slowly loosened, and for the first time that night, he smiled. The people clapped and shouted his name. "The lion returned! The lion returned!" Arya spun beside him, her laughter echoing through the night, bright and fearless. Around them, the fire roared higher, reflecting in their eyes like gold. Elder Deimos watched from his seat by the fire.
A faint smile touched his lips, but his gaze never left the flames. Deep inside, he felt the whisper of a coming storm, a shadow that moved behind the joy. Still, he clapped his hands and joined the celebration, hiding his worries beneath the rhythm of the drums and the laughter of the free.
The morning after the celebration, Dunba was quiet again. Smoke from the dying bonfires curled into the sky as the first rays of sunlight washed over the sleeping village. Birds sang softly from the trees, and the sound of a distant stream carried peace through the air. Prince Leo stood at the edge of the village, watching the sunrise. His heart was calm, yet something stirred deep inside him, a pull he could not explain. He could still hear Elder Damos's words from the night before. "It is time to awaken the lion spirit." Heir walked up beside him, her eyes bright even in the morning light. "You didn't sleep," she said with a small smile. Leo shook his head. "I kept thinking about what Elder Damos said, about the spirit." "Then let's not waste time," Heir said. "He's waiting for us." Together they walked through the quiet paths of Dunba until they reached the sacred grove, a hidden place surrounded by tall stones covered in carvings. The air was cool, and every rustle of the leaves sounded like a whisper from the ancestors. Elder Damos stood in the center, leaning on his staff, his long gray locks glowing in the sunlight. "Prince Leo," Damos said, his voice strong and deep, "this place is older than Dunba itself. It is where the first king of Zamuna spoke with the lion spirit. Today, it will test if the blood of kings still runs true in you." He drew 3 symbols on the ground, a lion's eye, a heart, and a flame. "You must face 3 trials," he continued, "of courage, compassion, and truth. Fail, and the spirit will not rise. Succeed, and you will never be the same again." Leo swallowed hard but nodded. "I am ready, Elder." Elder Damos threw sacred herbs into a clay bowl and lit them. The smoke rose, swirling with gold light as he chanted in an ancient tongue. Heir stood silently, her hands clasped. The ground trembled. The trees began to hum. Leo closed his eyes. His heartbeat grew loud in his ears. The sound of the drums from last night echoed faintly, then faded into silence. And suddenly, he was no longer in Dunba. He found himself standing in a world of golden mist. The ground shone like glass, and the air pulsed with power. Then, from the light, a massive lion appeared, its mane burning like fire, its eyes glowing like the sun. The beast was both terrifying and beautiful. "Leo of Zamuna," the lion spoke, its voice deep as thunder. "Do you know who you are?" Leo's voice trembled. I am my father's son. I am the lost prince." The lion growled softly. "A prince rules by name, but a king rules by spirit. Are you ready to carry the weight of your people?" For a moment, Leo hesitated. He remembered his father's death, the flames that took his home, the screams of his people. His heart pounded. He almost turned away, until Heir's voice echoed faintly in his mind. "The war ahead will not be of swords alone, but of souls." He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I am ready." The lion roared. The sound shook the heavens. The golden mist exploded into light, and the lion leapt into him, merging with his soul. Leo fell to his knees, his body glowing from within. His eyes flashed gold, burning like sunlight. In the real world, Elder Damos and Heir watched in awe. The ground cracked, and the burst of warm wind swept through the grove. Leo collapsed, breathing hard, but a new strength shone in his eyes. Elder Damos whispered, "The lion's spirit has awakened." Heir knelt beside Leo and smiled. "Welcome back, Your Highness." Leo looked at his hands, trembling with power and purpose. "No," he said softly. "Not back. I'm just beginning." The sun rose over Dunba in streaks of gold and crimson, painting the sky with the colors of promise. The morning after Leo's awakening felt different. The air seemed alive, the birds louder, and even the trees seemed to bow slightly when the young prince walked by. The lion spirit had chosen him, but Elder Damos knew that spirit alone could not win wars. That morning, Damos stood with Heir at the village gate, looking toward the horizon. 3 riders approached, their armor worn but shining faintly beneath the light. As they drew closer, Leo stepped out, his heart pounding. The leading rider dismounted. He was a tall man, his face marked with scars that told stories of battles long past. His eyes were sharp but kind, and when he smiled, one could almost see the strength of the old Zamuna army. "Prince Leo," he said, bowing slightly, "I am General Kade. I fought beside your father, King Adin, until the flames took our kingdom. Damos's message reached me. I come to serve the true heir of Zamuna." Behind him were 2 younger men, Tariq, a lean archer with eyes quick as lightning, and Boma, a strong but quiet fighter with arms like carved stone. Elder Damos nodded. "Welcome, my brothers. Zamuna lives again in your loyalty." That day the training began. The old training ground was set in an open field beyond the village, surrounded by hills, with the sound of wind rushing through the tall grass. General Kade handed Leo a wooden sword. "Your father was a great warrior," he said, "but he wasn't born that way. He bled for every victory. You must do the same." Leo gripped the sword tightly. "Then teach me. I'm ready." The first blow came faster than he expected. Kade struck, and Leo stumbled, falling to the dirt. "Too slow," Kade barked. "Again." For days the pattern repeated. Strike, fall, rise again. His palms bled, his muscles screamed, but his eyes never dimmed. Heir often stood by with water, watching with quiet pride. "You're improving," she said one evening, handing him a drink. "Even lions must crawl before they roar." Kade smiled when he heard her words. "She is right, boy. Now find the control." Then came lessons in archery with Tariq. They stood on the hilltops, aiming at distant wooden targets. At first, Leo's arrows missed, thudding weakly into the grass. Tariq only grinned. "The bow doesn't obey strength," he said. "It obeys calm." He showed him how to breathe, how to listen to the wind, and how to let instinct guide his aim. Within a week, Leo's arrows began striking the center. Then came hand combat with Boma. The big man rarely spoke, but his moves were fierce. He threw Leo to the ground again and again, until one day, Leo flipped him over instead. Boma laughed heartily. "At last, the cub has claws." Weeks passed, and the uncertain prince transformed. His swings became sharper, his steps surer. During combat, sometimes his eyes flickered gold, and when that happened, even Kade took a step back, realizing that the lion spirit itself was fighting beside him. Finally, on a bright afternoon, Kade called everyone to the training field. "Today we test the prince," he declared. The villagers gathered, cheering. Elder Damos and Heir stood at the front, with pride and worry in their eyes. Kade drew his sword. "Let's see what you've learned, my prince." The fight began. Steel clashed against steel, sparks flying under the sun. Leo moved with new power, parrying, dodging, striking.
Cadet pushed him hard, but Leo no longer fell. His movements flowed like the river, fierce and graceful. Then, with a sudden burst, Leo spun and knocked Cadet's sword flying. The blade fell into the grass. Silence filled the air. Then Cadet smiled, a deep, proud smile. "You have your father's fire," he said, "but more than that, you have his heart." Elder Damos nodded. "The lion spirit has truly awakened in you, Prince Leo." The villagers roared with joy. Drums echoed again, songs filled the air, and for the first time since the fall of Zamuna, the old war cry was heard once more. Leo stood beneath the setting sun, holding his sword high. He was no longer just the lost heir. He was the lion of Zamuna, reborn in strength and spirit.
The golden sun sank slowly over Dunba, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. The village was peaceful now, alive with laughter and rebuilding. Leo's training had ended after weeks of sweat, bruises, and determination. Under Elder Damos's wise guidance and General Cade's strong discipline, Leo had become a warrior in every sense. His sword no longer wavered in his hand. His arrows flew like lightning through the air. He could feel the lion spirit stirring within him, waiting to roar. General Cade, the battle-scarred warrior who had once fought under King Adin himself, watched Leo with pride. "You've done well, my prince," he said, his deep voice calm but full of pride. "Your father would have been proud. The men of the old royal guard, those still loyal to Zamuna, are ready. They await your call. Together we can rise again." Leo smiled faintly. His heart burned with courage, but his eyes still carried the memory of loss. "Then we rise," he said quietly, "for Zamuna must be free again." Just then, a sound broke through the peaceful evening, the thunder of hooves racing fast toward the village. The people turned in alarm. Dust rose as a lone rider galloped into Dunba, his clothes torn, his horse exhausted. He slid off and fell to his knees before Leo. "My prince," the man gasped, his chest heaving. "The stories are true. You have returned. Word of the son of King Adin has spread. My village rejoices, but Ragnar's soldiers have taken everything. Our food, our people, our peace. Please help us as you helped Dunba." The villagers gathered around, murmuring softly. Some were afraid. Others looked to Leo with hope. Elder Damos placed the firm hand on Leo's shoulder, his wise eyes searching the prince's face. For a long moment, Leo said nothing. Then he stepped forward and lifted the weary messenger to his feet. "Rise, brave one. No village should suffer while we still breathe. We will help your people." A spark lit in the eyes of everyone present. The messenger bowed deeply, tears glistening. "Thank you, my prince. The spirits bless you." The next morning, the air was filled with the sound of horses being saddled. Leo, Arya, Elder Damos, General Cade, and the twin warriors Tariq and Boma prepared for the long journey ahead. Lady Mara, Leo's foster mother, stood silently at the edge of the road. She hugged her son tightly. "Be brave, my son. Your father's blood runs strong in you. Do not fear what lies ahead." Leo nodded. "I'll make you proud, mother." With that, the small group rode out of Dunba. The villagers waved them goodbye, singing songs of courage and victory. Dust swirled behind them as they disappeared down the long road towards destiny. Meanwhile, as Prince Leo and his companions disappeared over the rolling crest of the hill, the wind tugging at their cloaks as the fading light painted the landscape in shades of gold and shadow,
A sinister cavalry emerged from the mist on the opposite side, wraiths conjured by the dark sorcerer himself. Their hollow eyes glowed faintly under their hoods, and their black horses' hooves thundered against the earth like an omen of doom. With each pounding step, the very air seemed to chill, carrying whispers of death as they raced toward Dunba, bent on reducing the unsuspecting village to ash and despair.
What do you think will happen next in Part 3, the attack of the Wraiths? Will the people of Dunbar survive the terrifying onslaught of the dark sorcerer's wraiths? And for Prince Leo and his companions is an even greater darkness waiting just beyond the horizon. Don't miss the next breathtaking chapter. Subscribe to African Folktales with Auntie now and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an adventure. While you wait for Part 3, explore more thrilling African folktales on this channel, each one filled with courage, mystery, and the timeless magic of Africa.